31,000 years ago, one of the first ever amputations was performed on a young hunter in Borneo. According to evidence, the hunter actually survived this and not only lived to tell the tale, but probably had a few awkward fireside conversations with the surgeon buddies who held him down as this was being done to him. You see, this is because general anesthesia was invented a lot later than this time, which means that when they held him down and did that amputation, there was quite a lot of pain. Not the kind of pain you'll feel after eating some questionable Taco Bell meat, although that's a really close second, but the kind you get when, someone cuts parts of you off. So next time you have a stubbed toe or a bad Taco Bell experience, remember that people learned surgery more than 29,000 years before they developed anesthesia. General anesthesia is a method of medically inducing loss of consciousness that renders a patient unarousable even with painful stimuli. Think of it like pressing a snooze button on life. Now, anesthesia has 3 stages. Stage 1, known as induction, is the period between the administration of the agents and the loss of consciousness. Sort of like that awkward small talk phase at the party. You're there, but you're not quite feeling it yet. And hey, there's some amnesia at this point, which is handy because you don't want to remember all the snarky comments the operating room staff will inevitably make about your belly fat or double chin. Or stage 2, also known as the excitement or delirium stage, is the period following the loss of consciousness and is marked by excited and delirious activity. It's sort of like a roller coaster ride, except instead of those loops, you get irregular respirations and heartbeats. So for the sanity of everyone involved, this phase is usually pretty short. Now, stage 3 is when the real action happens. This is the surgical anesthesia phase, and it's the sweet spot where they let the surgeon loose on you, kind of like letting Picasso paint on a blank canvas, except in this case the canvas is you and your surgeon is the Picasso. It's not my greatest example, but yeah, you get the idea. Now, stage 4 is known as the overdose phase, and for obvious reasons, your doctor generally does not want you to get to this phase. It's characterized by loss of cardiac and respiratory activity, and without support, this phase is usually fatal. So remember, kids, next time you have an opportunity to anesthetize someone, try to keep them well clear of stage 4.
Throughout recorded history, attempts at producing a state of general anesthesia can be traced back to the writing of ancient Sumerians, Babylonians, Assyrians, Egyptians, Indians, and the Chinese. Each of these cultures used various substances to try and induce anesthesia with varying degrees of success. Some of the very popular compounds were alcohol in Mesopotamia. Yeah, we figured out how to get shit-faced before someone decided that maybe surgery shouldn't be this excruciatingly painful. Opium, which the Sumerians called whole gil, meaning plant of joy. They were real party people, the Sumerians. The Chinese used mandrake, a plant known for causing very vivid acid trips. I'm talking unicorns and mermaids, doing things unicorns and mermaids probably shouldn't be doing to each other. So that can't have been much fun, unless if you're a Portugal Charlie Sheen, seen here on a Tuesday. Speaking of China, it would be remiss of me to tell the story without talking about the great Bian Kui, who lived around 400 to 200 BCE and is said to be the earliest physician in Chinese history. While working as an attendant at a hostel before his medicine days, an elderly patron gave him supernatural healing powers. He was the Diddy to Bian's usher, if you will. 30 days later, Bian developed X-ray vision and became a pretty handy physician as a result. One of his most famous accomplishments was treating 2 men, one who had a mental deficiency and one who had a willpower deficiency. He could have just referred them to therapy, but Dr. Bian had a far grander scheme in mind. He gave them each a cocktail of booze and opium so strong Bill Cosby would have been proud, and knocked them out both for 3 days, during which he exchanged their hearts. And not figuratively or anything, he did it the old-fashioned way, kinda like this, except with more blood and, well, actual hearts involved. So maybe not like this. Now, it would be remiss of me at this point if I didn't tell you that this story is very popular but has never actually been scientifically verified. So it's firmly in the don't try this at home column, kid. Also, after the awesome phase of Chinese antiquity, a portion was developed called Dwala. Anyway, it's not important how you pronounce it. But what's important is for you to know that everyone had a blast drinking it in England throughout the Middle Ages. This alcohol-based mixture also contained some fun ingredients such as bile, opium, which was always a fan favorite, brioni, which is a thing, lettuce,
henbane, also known as stinking nightshade, which tells you all you need to know about that, hemlock, and for a pop of tanginess, vinegar. It was such a hit that William Shakespeare even referenced it in a little play of his called Hamlet.
Things got a bit serious in the 18th century when a man named Joseph Priestley made a series of discoveries that eventually led to the discovery of the anesthetic properties of nitrous oxide, otherwise known as laughing gas. In the 19th century, a very intense Japanese surgeon called Hanawaka Seishu performed a mastectomy using 2-sensan as a general anesthetic. This compound contained several chemicals, including the devil's trumpet, which was known to cause both anesthesia and paralysis, something that still happens with modern anesthetic practice. Meanwhile, after all this effort and discovery, the man who generally takes credit for being the father of anesthesia is a guy called William G. Morton. William was a dentist and the first person to demonstrate the use of diethyl ether as a general anesthetic at Mass Gen in 1846. By the 21st century, modern anesthesia had advanced so much that all your anesthetist really has to do is hook you up to a few tubes, then play Candy Crush or lose money as a day trader on his phone, while the surgeon does unimaginable things to your internal organs. Something that our young hunter from Borneo probably will not have minded one bit.